Hi, I'm Matt McCluney, the Associate Curator of Operations here at Battleship Memorial Park, and I'm here with...
Tim Nessmith, Ship Superintendent, USS KIDD.
All right, Tim, we were just talking about a catapult, and we were just talking about what comes off the catapult, and one of the planes is this Kingfisher.
And the Kingfisher is what would have been on the three Fletchers we were talking about that received catapults.
Correct.
They would have also been on the battleship.
Alabama did operate 3 Kingfishers at any given time. There were accidents where maybe we lost one at one time, so we'd be down 1 or 2 planes from time to time, and we finished the war with the SC Seahawk, but we did operate until January 1945, the Kingfisher.
Yep. Wow. She's a beauty. What can you tell me about her? I've never seen one before.
The OS2U Kingfisher was a new monoplane seaplane that the U.S. Navy brought out right before the war started. So it was the newest seaplane, so the new battleships got them. And then also some of the older ones. You also see Seahawks were operated by battleships like Battleship Texas, BB-35. So their job was to scout for bombardment, and it was also to help direct fire. So, you know, sometimes you were firing over the horizon, or you were firing where your radar couldn't see, or you were firing into an island. And so your Kingfisher could help you walk your fire in, so they could say, okay, that's short, okay, that's far, and kind of help the battleship to get their target.
Just like the Army's forward observers.
Correct.
Okay. Only mobile and way high up.
Exactly.
And where did this Kingfisher come from?
This Kingfisher was acquired by Battleship Memorial Park out of Mexico, actually. And so the battleship bought this aircraft and had it assembled. And so this is one of the aircraft we own.
Uh-huh. Now, I know a lot of my friends that restore historic aircraft, they're able to look at the serial numbers and everything and tell you the whole history of the plane, where it served, who flew it, that sort of thing. Do y'all have that sort of information about this bird?
Well, the interesting thing about just acquiring a Kingfisher in the late 60s was she's made out of a couple of different planes.
Gotcha.
And so we don't have a good history on the different components.
Okay. But I'm assuming you know the crew for the Kingfishers that would have been on Alabama.
Yes. Yeah. So that would have been V Division on board Battleship Alabama. And we do have a running list of our crew, which includes Raphael Sims, whose grandfather or great-grandfather was actually the captain of CSS Alabama.
I was going to say, that name sounds very familiar.
It is familiar, and I don't think it was an accident. He was one of the aviators on Alabama.
Okay. That's an interesting legacy situation there. Wow. And, Matt, you guys got hit by Katrina pretty hard back in 2005.
Yes, we did.
And this aircraft hangar, beautiful aircraft hangar, tons of great equipment, historic equipment. Some of it got a little bashed up. What happened with the Kingfisher?
So everything that was in the pavilion at that time, the walls were blown out and everything was pushed kind of into that corner where you see the A6.
Okay.
And the Kingfisher suffered some damage. It wasn't, by far, was not the worst damage. A lot of the cowling has been repaired and recreated by some of our talented aircraft mechanics.
So, Matt, I see the camouflage scheme on the plane, and I admit I am a novice when it comes to planes. I wanted to be Tom Cruise. I wanted to be Maverick in 1984 or 86, whenever the Top Gun movie. Yeah, but once I determined my eyesight sucked and I had no aptitude for physics or higher math, I tossed everything airplane out. I'm not going to have it. But we have camouflage measures for the ships and everything. Measure 22, measure 3210D, measure 21. Do they do the same sort of camo schemes for the planes? I know they have camo, but do they have it named that way?
I'm less familiar with that, but I do know that there were several camouflage patterns and a couple of different ones even worn by Alabama's Kingfishers. Okay. So over time, the camouflage patterns changed. This is more early war for us.
Okay.
Which early war for us is still kind of middle of the war.
Right.
Because Alabama really got into the fray in 43. Later in 43, we ended up in the Pacific finally in about November of 43 is really when we started getting involved out there. So even early war for us is kind of mid-war.
Right. And I see the number 3 here. Was this chosen to represent a plane on Bama?
Yes.
Okay.
She did wear a number 3, one of the planes. And this, to be clear, is not an original aircraft from the Alabama.
Right.
But she is representative.
Right. In the same way, our P-40 is not, an actual P-40 from the Flying Tigers. It's
Right.
Ours is actually a replica, but this is a real Kingfisher.
Yes, this is a real
assembled
Kingfisher.
from multiple birds,
Right.
multiple planes.
And
Very
I'm curious. I know what the landing procedures were for these for a battleship.
Yeah.
So, the battleship would make a big broad turn and smooth out the water. And then you'd lay out your basically a big mat
Right.
that they would ride up on. And there's a hook at the front, and you'd hook on, and then they would lower the crane down, and the pilot would hook her up, and you can see that on top. There's a place to attach
Right.
and lift her. So I'm curious how the Fletchers, are you familiar with that?
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
The exact same
thing.
procedure.
Yeah.
Okay.
The big difference is the placement of the cranes, because we're so small and so narrow. So Matt, what kind of armament did she carry?
Well, for other aircraft, she would have had one forward-firing M19 30 cal machine gun, and then she would have had one rear-facing that could be turned and operated from the back seat.
Right.
And then, of course, she could carry a couple of bombs or depth charges as needed.
Okay.
And there is bomb stowage on the Battleship Alabama.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Neat. Where would they have, because this is a question I've come up with the Fletchers, where would they have had the fuel for the planes on the Bama?
So gasoline stowage is aft right there in the same general area. And if you look on the fantail, there is a scuttle, right there, about centrally located. And that was gasoline stowage, and that's how they could fuel the planes. And then if you look on the starboard side of the fantail, there is a large double opening hatch, and that was aviation stores. And so you would have any spare parts or any number of things down there that would help you work on the aircraft.
I think you had mentioned earlier off camera, what was her speed?
171 miles an hour.
170.
And so that's not blistering, especially for the time period. You had a Mustang, which was a little over 400 miles an hour. And so you got 171, 176. So with a stiff headwind, I imagine she just kind of hung there a little bit.
So with the armament she had, the speed she had, she's not meant to be in a dogfight. Those guns are purely defense.
Yeah, she's not looking for a fight. Her best bet is to, hope that she just doesn't encounter the enemy, because she can't stay close to the ship because she's going to be outside of their range for anti-aircraft by doing scouting.
Right.
And if the ship is bombarding, she's probably not going to have a whole lot of fighter cover. So her best bet was to not encounter the enemy.
Right. Now, crazy question. I've seen pictures of the Catalinas. Of course, they had the same sort of pontoons that they would land in the water on. Mm-hmm. But Catalinas apparently had wheels on the bottom of the pontoons, and you could pull them up on a runway like a boat ramp. Could Kingfishers do that?
You could equip a Kingfisher with wheels.
Okay.
But they were not stored in the pontoons.
Okay.
So, and it looks kind of hilarious, actually. They have these really long landing gear that have to be attached, and they look very ungainly on the ground.
Look like giraffes?
Yes.
Wow. How many of these birds are left? I know you've got this one. You've got one down the road at Pensacola at the Naval Aviation Museum. I haven't heard of a whole lot of others.
I know they have one at the Smithsonian that used to be with Battleship Massachusetts. They have one at Battleship North Carolina.
Okay.
And I'm not sure off the top of my head of too many others.
Okay. So a very rare artifact here.
Very rare and in demand. And other battleships, I have to fend off many battleships that want our Kingfisher.
If you go on the internet, on Facebook, you can find pictures of Matt tackling Hunter Mashern from Battleship Texas, who is racing, trying to reach out for this Kingfisher. So he's not lying about that. The Texas is actively trying to get this Kingfisher from them.
I tried to give Kyle a Kingfisher, but he said one this big wasn't okay.
Oh, that's just picky. Well, Matt, thank you so much for bringing me in here and showing me this bird. This is beautiful.
Well, I'm always very glad to have other ships, and especially USS KIDD, come visit us.
We are hashtag One Fleet. We enjoy working with you guys whenever we get the chance. For the USS KIDD, remember, like, share, subscribe. For Battleship Alabama, like, share, subscribe. You can donate for USS KIDD at www.usskidd.com. Matt, what's your stuff?
We are at www.ussalabama.com. We're very creative. You can keep up with us on Facebook, USS Alabama Battleship Memorial Park. You can find our events, upcoming events are always listed there. So,
and y'all got some really cool oral histories on your YouTube channel from your vets.
We absolutely
really enjoy those.
So there's nothing better than hearing it from the guys who did it, from the horse's mouth, from the guys who were there, the guys who did it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.
You too.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.